Well, Rakesh is a boy who comes from Jhansi. He is someone who, at his time in his college, had failed medical twice. He wanted to be a singer at some point. His father wanted him to be a doctor, and he couldn't fulfill his father's dream. He feels a sense of anger that the education system kind of let him down, pressurized him, and he goes and in a very smart way devises a plan to hack the system. How he hacks the system, you have to see this in the film in Cheat India, but it's very true to how our education system is. I mean, you have proxy examiners, uh, student impersonation, a lot of different things. He's got his contacts in all faculties, teachers, principals, and everything. And for a fee, he gets undeserving students who are willing to pay a good amount of money, high grades, and ranks, and seats in universities where they might have not got seats. The education system in India is fractured. It's just stuck in this era in the early, probably 19th century, 1800s, uh, based on the Industrial Revolution, when there was a certain factory system, when people, and of course, from our past, in the colonial era, we had um, the British Raj that wanted to impose a certain education system to make sure they have homegrown clerks here and yes men. And there was a lot of emphasis given to subjects like science, technology, engineering, maths. On the lower rung after that were things like history, geography, languages. The lowest rung was the arts. Now this is almost 200 years old, 150 years old. Our education system has not updated itself. We basically have retaining information as something that gets you grades, not understanding that information. There's no creative learning, there's no analytical thinking, there's no original thinking. So there's no emphasis on that. And a lot of pressure. A lot of other problems of bad teacher-student ratio. The loan system in our country is very bad, it's pathetic. There's some mounting interest rates and on families, and that just crushes them. High suicide rates. We have a child dying every hour because of the pressure of the education system. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but the fact is that it needs a major overhaul. Uh, and fundamentally, like we have in our film Cheat India, we show that with all these problems, the bigger problem is the middlemen who want to make money on the side, and they are eating through this education system. So what happens when children and parents pay for the grades, right? They feel at that young, impressionable age that that's how life is. If you want to go on, if you want to be successful, you got to cheat. And these are very young kids. When they go ahead, they're the same people who become corrupt later on because they feel unfair means is the way to get ahead. So that's how they become corrupt. That's why there's so much of corruption in our country, because fundamentally it starts off from the base, which is the education. There are a lot of measures that need to be taken. First and foremost, let's start with the government. There is, at the moment, if I'm not wrong, somewhere between 3 and 4% of the GDP is spent on the education. There's a sizable amount that's spent on other forms of infrastructure, defense, which is great, but it's of no use. If they were to factor in and at least understand the philosophy that the most important infrastructure is not, of course, there are bridges, there's electricity, there's water in cities and states. The most important infrastructure is a child's mind, is the development of a child's mind, which we're not spending money on. It's a very, very small percentage. So remove the entire thing of rote mugging, which is again passe. Um, Educations are of two kinds. The one is that kind of teaches you how to live, and the other one is how to make a living. I think unfortunately our education system only teaches you how to make a living, and it is not very good at that either. We have a very gloomy situation with education. Everything is about work, work, work. There is no time off. Now if you take 8 hours of school and you add up an hour of travel, an hour of homework, and an hour of tuitions, they're not left with pretty much a life beyond that. And that gets even worse when you go up higher up in things like IIT or any of the other boards when you go up. It's a pretty gloomy situation. So it needs. I can go on and on again, but it needs a major overhaul. We need teachers who are qualified. Unfortunately, not many teachers are qualified because it's not a high-paying job. Most of the teachers in our country are just people who haven't got an opportunity. They were probably wanting to be doctors or engineers. They didn't get that job, so they came and they became teachers. And they don't even come to schools and colleges to teach in most of the schools and colleges in our country. They have coaching classes outside from where they earn money. So, yeah, it needs a lot of work. We need a change. We need nothing less than a revolution in it. And apart from that, we have a system which is being eaten away by a lot of middlemen, by a lot of corrupt people, by a lot of officials who are trying to make a quick buck out of it. Let's face it, it's a big business. Education is a huge business, and everyone is eating away at it. And at the end of the day, the sufferers are our kids, are the students. So Cheat India is a film that puts you into the heart of the problem. It's a plea from the makers, from the film generally. When you see the film, the takeaway is that we need a complete overhaul of the system. It's a trick question. I didn't have any favorite subject in school, but if I have to pick up one, I think it would be geography. First of all, I don't know if I would go back to the same board that I studied in. So that again is a question that has a lengthy answer. I would probably choose another board because now I have a kind of bird's eye view of what kids benefit from, what they don't. That is why I put my son into a very different school board, which gives development to both the right and left brain. It's not just rote mugging. Unfortunately, I was also a victim of an education system where, like most of us, are into just rote mugging. So I would not go back to that school. I would have changed my board and go into something like, like an IB or a Montessori method. I would go back in that. Originally, I didn't want to be an actor. This happened by accident. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I think a lot of moments. I think when I had my son, that changed me. That changes fathers, mothers, parents. Generally, we change as when we have kids. The responsibility of that, the responsibility of my profession when I decided to become an actor, that was a huge day. So yeah, these were landmark events in my life. Well, Youth Incorporated is a fantastic platform to kind of, like you say, educate and entertain. It's very important to, you know, there is a huge portion of the youth that is kind of aimless. This is something that I remember when from my college and school days, I didn't know what to pursue as far as my profession goes, or what I would eventually be passionate about. It's very important through your channel, through that entertainment, through that medium, you kind of educate kids and give them a sense of direction. I think that's something the youth needs. Everyone who's young, who's growing up, they're rebellious. That energy needs to be challenged, channeled rather. And I think through your channel, you're doing that. So, kudos and all the very best.